Listening Library presents Cruella live-action novelization by Disney Press, adapted by Elizabeth Rudnick, read for you by Elizabeth Knowelden.
What sets you apart can sometimes feel like a burden, and it's not. And a lot of the time, it's what makes you great. Emma Stone. Prologue. Cruella VIL wasn't born. She was made. Although, if we are being technical, she was, in truth, like any living, breathing being, born. Her name was Estella, and it is rumoured that on the night of her birth, the stars didn't shine, and the moon dared not peek out from behind the stormy clouds. Some say that wolves howled, and others say the rivers around her home ran hot. But people say a lot of things, and a lot of the time, those things are not true. At least, not all of them. Estella came into the world like any other baby, kicking and screaming. But from the moment she arrived, it was clear that she was not like any other baby. Unique, some called her. Special, said others. A few kinder souls who came across her rolling along in her pram might have even dared call her cute, until her knit cap fell off, revealing her hair. Jet black on one side, pure white on the other. It was, from the moment she was born, thick and distinct. And when people saw it, they usually stopped thinking cute and started thinking bizarre. But mothers are blinded by love, and Estella's mother, Catherine, was no exception. To Catherine, Estella was perfect and brilliant from the moment she entered the world. As the days and years passed, Estella grew from a curious baby who was quick to smile to a precocious toddler who insisted on doing everything on her own. She walked before other children her age, and by 2 was having full conversations with her mum. She never seemed to notice the strange looks people gave her, and never seemed bothered that no one came to visit the shabby but cosy cottage where she and her mother lived. To Estella, her tiny home wasn't drab or sad. The clothes her seamstress mother mended brightened the small space and became her world. She slipped silk, chiffon, and taffeta through her fingers, marvelling at their smoothness. She compared clothes and dreamed up patterns. As Estella grew older, other talents began to shine through. At her mother's knee, Estella quickly learned how to thread a needle and soon was darning socks and hemming skirts. When the meagre furniture at home became too threadbare, Estella would create colourful patches out of fabric remnants. While sewing came naturally to Estella, following the rules was a bit harder for her. On more than one occasion, Estella's mother had to give her a gentle reminder. "You must follow the pattern," she said to her daughter. "There's a way to do things." "It's ugly," Estella said, holding up a pattern and comparing its straight lines to the wild ones she had imagined for her doll's new dress. Her mother shook her head. "That's cruel. Your name is Estella, not Cruella." Cruella was the nickname her mother had given her when she was younger, and in the throes of the terrible 2s, which were followed by the tyrannical 3s. Estella's temper, when it got the best of her, could make her quite cranky and sometimes even mean. Her mother liked to remind her to keep Cruella in check, though some moments were easier than others. Sometimes, at the reminder, young Estella shook her head, or, if in a particularly pouty mood, ripped up a pattern or stomped her feet. But she always returned to give her mother a hug and a "sorry." She didn't want to be cruel. She just wanted to sew. By the time she was 12 years old, Estella was a talented seamstress. While she still didn't have many friends, her mother told her every day she was special. "You can be anybody or anything you want, sweet girl," her mum said. "You aren't just black or white. You're every colour of the rainbow." And Estella believed her. Estella didn't need friends. She had her mum and her imagination. So for the most part, Estella was happy. But all that was about to change. Chapter 1. 12-year-old Estella sat astride her bicycle and stared up at the huge stone building in front of her that exuded wealth and privilege. The day she had been waiting for, well, forever, was finally here. She was going to start at a fancy private school, and while she was a little excited, she was also a lot terrified. Estella stared up at the building, absently rubbing the lining of her jacket, comforted by the feel of the fabric. She smiled. Maybe the school was like her jacket. It looked one way on the outside, but was something entirely different on the inside. She sighed. She doubted it. Kids began to stream into the courtyard seemingly from all directions, their uniforms immaculate and pressed perfectly. A row of fancy cars lined up, waiting to drop off more students. She heard shrieks of laughter as girls who hadn't seen each other over the holiday were reunited, and the deeper voices of the boys as they made their own, more reserved greetings. It all sounded like a foreign language to Estella. She turned and looked at her mother, who was perched on a bicycle beside her. The woman's greying hair seemed to be forever attempting to escape its tilting bun, and the dull smock she wore was perpetually stained. She looked nothing like the women waving goodbye to their children from the windows of their cars. Every hair on those women's heads was perfectly smooth. Their makeup was flawless, and not a button was out of place. An unfamiliar sensation washed over Estella. Looking at her mother, she was almost embarrassed. "Remember," her mother said, interrupting Estella's thoughts, "you belong here as much as anybody." Shame immediately washed over Estella. There she was, feeling self-conscious about her mother, when all her mother had done for years was scrimp and save so that Estella could go to this silly school. Taking a deep breath, Estella loosened her grip on the handlebars of her bike. She might not have gone to school with these kids before, but she wasn't going to let them bring her down, or at least she wasn't going to let her mother think they were getting to her. "Agreed," she said, her confident tone belying the doubt she was feeling. Her mum nodded. "And what do you say to Cruella when she tries to get the better of you?" Estella sighed. She hated that her mum still used that nickname for her slightly wicked side. But her mum wasn't wrong to remind her. She had to hold tight to her temper. "Thank you for coming, but you may go now," she recited dutifully. Pleased by the answer, her mum gave her a small smile. Then she looked back and forth between the big, imposing building and Estella, her eyes distant. Estella wondered where her mother's thoughts had gone. There was something haunted and deeply sad in her expression. Estella turned and looked at a group of girls in their matching uniforms, with hats tipped jauntily on their heads. She wore the same plain, ugly jacket and matching skirt they did, with a few small tweaks her mum didn't know about, of course. But she wasn't wearing the hat. Ever. Taking a deep breath, Estella said one more goodbye to her mum, parked her bicycle in one of the racks, and joined the stream of students entering the school. When she reached the top of the steps, she turned around. Her mum was still there, watching. Estella gave her another wave and then turned and entered the building. As soon as she was out of sight of her mum, Estella took her jacket off. Flipping it inside out, she smiled. The drab and itchy blue plaid was replaced by silk Estella had dyed a vibrant yellow. It was loud.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?